Have dessert.
Thank you, Mr. Montgomery.
Rod Montgomery from William Patterson Court, just a taxpayer. I missed This Week in Education. I hope production will resume soon. I applaud the shift of agenda publication to boarddocs.com.
Thank you.
But, well, now, the reason I applaud it is because I find it easier to skip to the parts that I am interested in. I hope you will put students to work populating the library and policies sections in the automation.
We haven't gotten there yet.
I understand. Just, this is, all right. As far as your exploiting the technology to slow up proceedings, you still have a long way to go to match the United States Senate. But you can work on it.
We're working on it, yeah.
I applaud the careful, thoughtful work of the policy and student achievement committees that I've had the honor to observe. In particular, I applaud the work of the faculty committee that has been visiting the Scarsdale district to look at their advanced topics courses as an alternative to advanced placement. I hope this work will continue, but I'd like to mention several points from the presentation at the Student Achievement Committee that struck me. Scarsdale is a far wealthier district than Princeton, particularly in faculty-student ratio and physical space. So you can't just port their template and expect it to work. You don't have the resources.
And their tax levy's double. They get double, their budget's double from.
That, yeah, just so.
Yeah.
Second, their shift from AP to AT produced no reduction in student stress. So you're not going to get that, which I think you all were hoping for, just by making that shift. You're going to have to design the AT courses carefully to reduce, if you want to reduce the stress level. And finally, the Princeton faculty seem to plan, from what I heard, to keep the old AP Computer Science course, which is based on the Java programming language, which I abhor, and to replace the new AP Computer Science Principles course with an Advanced Topics Computer Science course. This seems to me to be exactly backward if you aspire to make AP Computer Science more accessible to a wider variety of students for possible reduction in college expenses by getting AP credit. As I've mentioned before, learning computer science based on the Java programming language is like doing driver ed in tractor-trailer trucks. You don't use tractor-trailer trucks for driver ed, and if you have an alternative, you shouldn't ought to be using Java programming language to teach computer science to high school kids. Okay. Strategic plan. The Princeton Packet published an interview with Board President Sullivan, bylined by Erica Chase Wida, W-I-D-A, dated 12 January 2012, quoting Mr. Sullivan as saying, "I fully support the implementation of the strategic plan adopted by the board." What strategic plan adopted by the board? I've been watching and I haven't seen one.
It was adopted several years ago, Mr. Montgomery. I believe it might have been a year and a half ago now. Is that right?
there's
it
a
wasn't adopted.
strategic-
It wasn't adopted formally. It was proposed. It was developed, but there hasn't been an adoption in terms of a vote, as far as I
Right.
recall.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm-
yeah.
Maybe,
But it
maybe
is-
I
we are-
misunderstood.
Right. Yeah.
The is there a document? I have seen Superintendent Cochran waving a document around.
Yes, there is.
as
There is a
draft.
document. It's actually, and it is driving a lot of the work that we're doing in the district. And I'm glad you bring it up because it's the work that we really intended to be doing in December and January. There were other things that, as you indicated when you were talking about strategic plans and the need to be flexible as we implement them, there are things that come up in the life of a district that require us to deviate from our current direction and move in a different one. So we've been doing that for the last few months as we've been working through the charter school expansion application. The strategic plan is still there and is still driving much of the work. And I had actually just spoken to Board President Sullivan about bringing the board together for a retreat at some point to actually go over it one more time with them and then begin to make it public. We are looking forward to doing that.
All right, so there is not a strategic plan formally approved by the board. Is that correct? Do I understand
Through a
that?
vote, I would say no, because I would consider we have goals that we've put out publicly. We
Yes.
have objectives that we've put out publicly. It's the action items to achieve those objectives that has not been formally presented.
Okay. Well, on the homepage of the district, there is a link labeled Strategic Plan.
There is.
Which points to a separate website, PPS
Vision.org.
vision.org, which is apparently about 2 years stale.
Year and a half.
Okay. Contains a bunch of goals which were adopted by the board, some as policy, some as a separate resolution. And it lists some action items in progress. One is of particular interest to me, which was the mobile access program to provide home access to computing and
Right, for those who might not
communications
have internet access or computers.
to all students.
Right.
On the ppsvision.org website, there is an announcement of its commencement as a pilot program and a promise that it would be rolled out. But I have not seen or heard any indication of further progress. Now, it is of perhaps only academic interest to myself because it's not going to change my tax bill. But I wonder whether the board tracks progress on initiatives that have been begun. Has the board, I invite the board to ask itself whether the board has been tracking progress on the mobile access program, and if it has not, then maybe it should be tracking progress.
Wonderful point. And I actually will make sure that I bring that to the board at the next meeting because we have a committee of people that's looking at the tracking that and giving updates every month and making sure that students who need those computers are getting them and need the access. And we probably about have 150 or so that are out there at this point. And I'm very proud of the work that's being done and the students who are being served. So I think it would be something to celebrate, and I'll be happy to bring that to a future meeting.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now for dessert.
Thank you.
In a sense, I should not be saying this because I am not Admiral McRaven. I am not even a Navy SEAL. But he's not here, and I don't think there are any SEALs here, so you're stuck with me. In May of 2014, Admiral McRaven, who at that time was head of the United States Special Operations Command, gave a commencement address at University of Texas titled Life Lessons from Navy SEAL Training. I'm going to share one of his lessons with you this evening, and it provides the theme for the dessert. Every day during SEAL training, you were challenged with multiple physical events: long runs, long swims, obstacle courses, hours of calisthenics, something designed to test your mettle. Every event had standards, times you had to meet. If you failed to meet those standards, your name was posted on a list. And at the end of the day, those on the list were invited to a circus. A circus was 2 hours of additional calisthenics designed to wear you down, to break your spirit, to force you to quit. No one wanted a circus. A circus meant that for that day you didn't measure up. A circus meant more fatigue, and more fatigue meant that the following day would be more difficult, and more circuses were likely. But at some time during SEAL training, everyone made the circus list. But an interesting thing happened to those who were constantly on the list. Over time, those students who did 2 hours of extra calisthenics got stronger and stronger. The pain of the circuses built inner strength, built physical resiliency. Life is filled with circuses. You will fail. You will likely fail often. It will be painful. It will be discouraging. At times, it will test you to your very core. But if you want to change the world, don't be afraid of the circuses. And with that inspiration, and you might want to adjourn before I distribute them,
Yeah.
I offer for each of you a Navy SEAL training commemorative circus cookie, along with
Wow.
a copy of that life lesson.
Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. Yeah.
Okay, well, while you're distributing those, and thank you so much, Mr. Montgomery. While you're distributing those, if there's anyone else who has any comments on any topic before we adjourn. And if not, I'd like a motion to adjourn. Greg, and a second? Fern? All in favor? Okay, and we are adjourned. Thank you.